Harary came here about a year ago. We had just moved in, and if anyone who was here, the walls were all red. And he said, we had a little luncheon, a few people here, and he goes, only the Jewish people are so crazy that they could take a warehouse and turn it to the Jewish Learning Center. And on behalf of Hoodie and I want to welcome everyone to the Jewish Learning Center.
Good evening, everybody. It is such an honor to be here. To the rabbis that organized it, to Summer, congratulations. To some of the closest friends that I met on that trip that are sitting in the room that I spent the day, and Walt's in the house to such good care of me. Todd is here, one of the bravest men I met. When we went on the trip, we had the opportunity to experience bar mitzvah of really one of the people in this community. Is Todd in the room? There he is. And the ability to get up there at Masada and to have your bar mitzvah in front of the people that you just met is something that I'll never forget. And thank you for that. And it's great to be back in the South. In New York, it's freezing cold. And so I'll be here all week long. Don't tell my wife. The topic for tonight is about greatness. And for those women that were in the Federation today, it's a topic that we all want. We look at our lives, no matter where we are, what we do, husbands, wives, parents, children, students, and no matter what goes on in our lives, what we're searching for, what we're hoping to get, what we're hoping to get, what we're hoping to accomplish at the end of our lives, is to look back and go, you know, my life was great. I had my challenges. I had my ups and downs. I didn't have everything on easy street. But I am mediocre doesn't come off our tongues because we know it's not true. And how do we tap into that greatness? So I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you I got my first job. So I'm not a rabbi. I'm a lawyer. Well, I was a lawyer. I'm a recovering attorney. Lawyers are like the other end of the world from rabbis. You know what I'm saying? There's like a spectrum in God's eyes. And I want to tell you I got my first law job. I went to a school in the city called Columbia University, and the way it works is that after your first year, you get your grades. And any lawyers in the room, you know what I'm talking about. After your first year, you get your grades. And at the beginning of your second year, you have to apply for jobs. And they're not going to have all the students go to the firms. That'd be crazy. They're not going to have all the firms come to the campus. That wouldn't be respectful. So what they do is they take all the firms and all the students, and they put them in a hotel for 3 days of binge interviewing. It's like interviewing on steroids. It's a double tree in the middle of Midtown Manhattan in Times Square. And I remember those days. And there was a firm that I wanted to work for. There's something about WASPs that I love very much. I love them. They have numbers after their name. We don't get stuff like this. Mahogany walls, the Mayflower, the lapdogs, the cool, Old Navy catalogs. Like, that got lost in the Jewish world somewhere. They use words like son and lad that we can't get away with. And I wanted to work for the waspiest firm in the country called Davis Polk & Wardwell. That was my dream. And I did well. I didn't do that well. And the way it works in these firms is that you can't put them all down. You only can pick a certain amount of firms. You go too high, you don't get a job. You go too low, you sell yourself short. So you got to find out what firms that you can interview for. I didn't even put Davis Polk down. So this is, by the way, in 2000. So just to give you some, this is like during the times where we had these weird correlations, like you go to school and you get a job. Remember that stuff? Remember those days where like things like that happened? Like you came out and got a job? Like weird things happened those days. So everyone was getting all their offers. It was like, forget it. Like everyone's getting offer after offer after offer. They're throwing their extra offers and they're all leaving early, but I'm a Jew. Like, it's 3 days, it's 3 days. And that's how I was raised. If it's free, you take 2. That's like how it works. I don't know if they're giving out like tote bags or bagels. I was waiting to find out. 3 days means I'm sitting there for 3 days. So it was the third day and I'm in this huge room. This size of it is even bigger. In a big ballroom in New York City with a huge board. And me and like 4 other Jews. And on the board are all the firms, and on the last slot, it's at the 5:30 slot, it's at Davis Polk & Wardwell. And then all of a sudden the board went available. Someone just dropped it. Now I'm sitting there going, should I do it? Should I not? I'm never going to get it, but I'm here. Don't do it, just go on. Yes, no, I'm like, I'm here, I'm doing it. So I go up, I'd like to put my name down. She goes, sit down, let me know if you get it. 2 minutes later, the board says, Davis Polk & Wardwell, Charles Harary. I said, okay, here goes nothing. I go upstairs into this suite, and as I walk in, I realize this is going to be the worst interview of my entire life. The partner they send in for the 5:30 interview on the last day of interviewing was a brand new partner they just brought in from China. I speak no Chinese. He speaks no English. This is going to be a great interview. I'll tell you a funny story. I've got a neighbor across the street of mine, a laid-back American guy, like just chill. He married a hot-blooded Israeli woman. He speaks no Hebrew. She speaks no English. This is called marital bliss. You don't know what she says, he nods, and you go to the end. Every morning, he's up, a cup of coffee, enjoying the day. She's screaming words I didn't even know were Hebrew. He looks at me and goes, "What is she saying?" I'm like, "You should go inside right now." Like, right now. Like, no, don't finish the coffee, turn around and go inside. I walk in, he looks at me and goes, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Can you repeat the question?" He goes, "Name." I'm like, just slow it down. I got the, I don't know where you're going with this. He goes, "Name." I'm like, "Oh, name." I totally know this answer. I'm like, "Charles Harary." So he asks me, "Why do you want to be a lawyer?" I only heard, "Do you want to be a lawyer?" "Why do you want to be a lawyer?" "Yes." And he's looking at me and I'm like, what do I say next? Like, yay, juries, go contracts? Like, what happens next? So at this point he realizes that I'm a complete moron. And he has to give me 20 minutes or else like there's some kind of policy. So he puts his head down for 20 minutes and he just stares at my resume. After, you know how long 20 minutes of silence is? I do. After 20 minutes, he looks up and goes, "Talmud?" And I'm thinking, he didn't say Talmud, that's for sure. I'm like, what rhymes with Talmud? I'm like, Almud, Balmud, Kalmud, Lamud. I'm like, did you say Talmud? Like, you know when you go to yeshiva and they need to like fill your years when you go to Israel, they make you like advanced Talmudic masters. You know what I'm talking about? Like if you get like 2 minutes of Talmud, you become like a Talmudic master. And he looks up at me and he goes, "You know Talmud?" Now I'm thinking, I don't know where he is going, but I like it. I said, "Yes." He goes, "Really?" He goes, "I just got in from China." I'm like, "Yeah, I can tell." He said, "My first week, they brought me into the firms." The way it works in these big firms, by the way, is that the smartest guys they put in the tax department. The guys like me end up in real estate. They were the real smart guys when you come out, tax lawyers. He goes, "They brought me to all the departments, and then I got to the tax department. And in the tax department was this Jewish man, considered the guru of New York State tax. And I looked at this man, and behind him were all these beautiful tax codes. And on his wall in the corner was a different color binding. And I went to the man, I said, "Excuse me, sir, what's that?" And he said, That's a Talmud. If you think the codes are hard, this is 10 times harder." He looks at me and goes, "You must be a genius." I said, "Well, I don't like to brag." I mean, I mingle around you people to see how you live, and I'm not that impressed. I said, "I have been studying the Talmud since I was in the 5th grade. He goes, "It is an honor to meet you." I said, "It is an honor you met me as well." So I walked out, I'm like looking up, I'm like, I don't know if there's a birthday party in heaven or something, if you guys are giving out popcorn, but I hope you're happy. And I remember going to the wall. Those days, I don't know why there were phones attached to walls, something weird in those days. We put money into walls and all of a sudden we picked up phones. I don't know, we didn't have shoes and everything was uphill, I think. And I called my wife, and my wife says to me, "Charlie, Davis Polk called like 15 times. I said, "Okay, it's fine, maybe I have to use it as a story." It was a freak accident. As soon as I get back into the firm, they're going to see that I'm not Davis Polk material. Meanwhile, God's like, "I am just getting started with you, Charlie." So I got to the firm. The way it works in these firms, by the way, is you do these interviews, and you say what what they want to hear. "Yes, I love working." "Why would I want to see the light of day before I'm 50? Of course not." "No, my life is I don't have kids. What kids?" No, work. They're like, "You're just like us." I'm like, oh my God, I'm scared. So then they take you out to lunch, and that's when they're supposed to figure out who you are. So I go to lunch. I go to this restaurant in the city called Prime Grill, and I go with about a woman about my age, and a man a good 5-6 years older than me. He is stiff as a board. Doesn't say one word the whole lunch. Halfway through, all that small talk is all done. And he looks up at me and goes, "So, I see you're a Jew." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Gravy train's at the station. Game is up. So I was busted. Yeah, I look like a Jew. I said, "Yeah, I happen to be part of the Jewish people." He said, "Well, it's an honor to know you." I said, "Okay." Because before I got to law school, I was a U.S. Marine. And us Marines respect nobody, except for the Israeli commandos. And I'm thinking, he thinks I'm an Israeli commando? I'm like, that's right, Sergeant, Alpha, Beta, Delta, Charlie. I was rappelling off the Mediterranean with my Talmud in one hand. The chick, you knew the chick because I killed it on the over, you didn't tell. And at that point I realized that God wants me to have this job. My first job was with Davis Polk in Wardwell. And I said, you know what? I'm getting this job no matter what I do, so now I'm doing the interviewing. So I lean back, I order the fake creme brulee, and I say, excuse me, Mr. U.S. Marine, where do you get off telling me if there's anyone in the world you respect but the U.S. Marines? She said, I'll tell you. Because I grew up in Texas. I'm like, this can't get any cooler. Because you don't realize, but Texas is cool for New Yorkers. He goes, well, my grandfather served this country. My father served this country. My uncle served this country. There was nowhere else I was going to serve this country. You know why? Because I love America. I bleed red, white, and blue. And I went straight to the core. And I wasn't a good Marine. I was a great Marine. But there was something that dogged me. This, by the way, was before 9/11. Remember the days before 9/11? Remember those days? Remember the stuff like that? We did crazy things back then. Remember, like, we went on the airplane with shoes on? Remember the things we pulled back then? The craziest liquids going back and forth? Remember, like, the days when you made a cup of coffee and you took it on the airplane? The parties that we had before 9/11. Do you remember 9/11 and the feeling? I was in the trains. I was in Columbia. I was in the trains 9/11. I remember 9/11. Because the first guys, when the first tower hit, the people that looked up and said, they got on the train. The train they got on was my train going up to school. So we got the first guys that, before anybody knew what was going on. I remember when the whole train was quiet and the guy came in, literally full of stuff, walking on the train. And everyone said, what happened? And he said, some guy made a left turn and ended up in the Twin Towers. What a moron. And my friend of mine, to a packed, quiet train, said, you think it was terrorism? And he turned to him, I'll never forget this, and said, you Jews are so obsessed with terrorism. This isn't the Gaza Strip. This is New York City. It's not terrorism. Remember those days? Remember those days? So I didn't know who I was. I wanted liberty, but we had liberty. And I believe in justice and freedom, but God bless this country with justice and freedom. I didn't know who I was. Was I a peacekeeper in Bosnia? I didn't know what I was fighting for. Because then I was selected to be part of a few Marines that were taken and placed in Israel for 2 weeks of a joint military exercise. And I was paired with an Israeli commando. And I spent 2 weeks with him. And at the end of those 2 weeks, they brought us to a hill called Masada. And on that hill, on that mountain, the commander sat us in a semicircle. And he got in the middle and goes, you know why we're here for? Because at the end of the Second Temple's destruction, the Jews ran away from Jerusalem and they ran up to this hill. All they wanted to do was practice their religion. They didn't want to bother anybody. All they wanted to do was to be them. But the Romans wouldn't have it, so they chased them and they surrounded the mountain. And they looked to the left and no one was there to save them. They looked to the right and no one was there to save them. So you know what they did? They killed themselves. Do you know why we hear the Israeli army officer said? Because Masada doesn't fall again. We're done asking for help. We'll take care of ourselves. We'll protect ourselves. We'll figure it out. This mountain doesn't fall, not in our hands anymore. And he goes, and I looked over and he goes, and I got you people. Don't you love when this happens? When they qualify the anti-Semitic stuff, right? Not that I'm an anti-Semite, but here's my KKK uniform. You know what I'm saying? Not that I'm an anti-Semite, but I always wondered about you people. You know, I'm in every meeting, I'm sitting through all these trainings, and they're talking about you. Why are we talking about you for? You just showed up a minute ago. He's like, how do I go to a Holocaust memorial thing, and then 2 minutes later I'm listening about your military strategy. What happened here? You just came on the block a minute ago. He goes, and on that hill I got it. Because you know who you are. You're the people that walked out of the ashes of the Holocaust and you promised yourself you're never going back. When you fight a war, you lose it. You're not fighting for an ideal, you're fighting for your mother's backyard. You lose a border, you lose a country. And if you know who you are, and you know what you're fighting for, you can accomplish anything. I gotta tell you, that happened a while ago. There isn't a day in my life that I don't go through my morning routine and I don't hear that voice ringing. If you know who you are and what you're fighting for, you can accomplish anything. You ever get that feeling sometimes in life? That you're going and going and buzzing and beeping and going and going and buzzing and beeping, and every second of every day something's going on and everything's happening, and then if you're not working, then you're driving carpool, especially with kids, and you're driving more carpool, then more carpool, then more carpool, and then there's more carpool because you gotta drive carpool because the kids gotta go to carpool, because otherwise there's no carpool, and then you get back and you have a minute, and then they're buzzing and beeping, and if you're not buzzing and beeping, you're waiting to be buzzing and beeping. You ever have that? Like you're anticipating the email. It's a never-ending, I said this morning, I heard a legend once that there was once a time that when you left the office, you left the office. Like someone told me that that would happen once in the world, where people like left work in the office. I'm like, wow, was it magical back then? Really? Did you also have phones attached to walls and write on paper? We're living in a time, you ever feel this way? Where we have no more time in our day. I don't have a minute to breathe. I feel like I am running, I am always exhausted. I'm on battery power. But with all of that, there's this feeling that I have inside me that I could be more. I'm not there yet. You ever feel this way? I'm not there yet. I have more to give. I have more to be. But where am I going to put that? What else can I do? I have no more time. It's because greatness is not how much effort that you put into life. Greatness is your clarity as to where the effort goes. The challenge of greatness is clarity. It's figuring out who we are and what we're fighting for. Because we can go round and round and round and round our whole lives and never once get to what we're fighting for. So who are we and what are we fighting for? So what's amazing is that we've got this awesome book given to us by the creator of humanity. And that book is a really terrible history book, because it's not meant to be a history book. It's a lesson book. And every story, and every idea, and every situation, and every metaphor in the entire book is meant to ensure the fact that in 2014, people living modern lives can draw modern, relevant wisdom from it. God wastes no time in teaching us this lesson, understanding the clarity of who we are, of what we're fighting for. The first story that he teaches us gives us this insight. So that's what I want to do tonight. I want to start with the first page. Remember the first story? Adam and Eve. Remember that? Right? God creates a world. Being the first Jewish mother, he puts his son in and goes, eat, relax. You're working too hard already, I know. All the apples, it's all yours. Right? And being the first Jewish grandmother, he says, and by the way, coming down literally after 2 minutes, like, well, maybe it's time to get married. You know what I'm saying? You've been around for 5 minutes. And the story opens up, and being the first Jewish mother-in-law, shocker, there's nobody good enough for his son. So he literally, like some mother-in-law, so this is where they get this from, by the way. They fashion the woman out of the image of the man. And so the story opens up, and God's got this beautiful garden, and in the garden is Adam and Eve. And he says, here's the deal. It's all in the house. The credit card works. It's the platinum card, just whatever you want. Just do me a favor. There's one tree. Don't eat from the tree. Remember the story? The snake, Eve, Adam. God shows up and goes, what'd you do? And Adam does the one thing that no man should ever do for the rest of humanity. He blames his wife. And God, being from Brooklyn at one point, says, oh, no, you didn't. Because even I can't save you from that. Remember? And he goes, do you, out of here. I've got 2 questions. Number 1, since when is Judaism a one-strike policy religion? Right? Like, I don't understand. You ate the apple, you're out of here? Like, our whole life is guilt, no? Isn't Judaism like basically food, guilt, and just details? You know what I'm saying? Like, everything we're doing is I'm sorry. Like, a regular New Year's is margaritas. Our New Year's is like 30 days of I'm sorry, followed by 2 more days of I'm sorry, then a week of I'm sorry, and then we get to a 25-hour monster fast where the rabbi's like, say you're sorry, say you're sorry, say you're sorry, and it's almost over. He's like, and now we're like, can we finally? He's like, before you eat, don't forget to say I'm sorry. All we do is say sorry. 1 strike and they're on the street. Question 2. If God has a problem with apples, why not put it in the garden? I'm going to say something. If you don't want to eat the apples, you're God. Take the tree, put it down the block, and say, here's the story. You're cool. I got this covered, right? It's a setup. That's funny. Like, if I got kids and they want to have kosher food, right? If I don't want to give my kids non-kosher candy, I'm not going to take that non-kosher candy, put it literally into my living room, and I come down and have my kids in their hands in their bowls go, 2 of you. In the hands of the bowls? Yeah. On the street. Good luck. I don't think so. I'll tell you a funny story about kosher candy. There's a lady in Lakewood, New Jersey. Lakewood, New Jersey is a very, very religious town. The lady in Lakewood, New Jersey, shopping in a supermarket, and in front of her is an African-American woman. And she's literally on front. You know how the supermarkets work, right? They wait to get you at the end when the wallet's out, and you're boxed in to put all the candies, right? Because they know exactly what's happening, right? So, like every other kid in humanity, she's online, her kid's got the candy, and she goes, Leroy, put the candy down. And he doesn't put the candy down. She goes, Leroy, put the candy down. He's not putting the candy down. She goes, Leroy, put the candy down. And he goes, she's not putting it down. She goes, Leroy, it's not kosher. Drops the candy. The woman behind, it's a religious woman, she follows it out. She goes, excuse me, you Jewish? She goes, no. She goes, I just heard you tell your son, drop the candy, it's not kosher. She goes, I've been shopping in the supermarket for 20 years. I see you people. You people have kids. They don't listen. All of a sudden you say it's not kosher. Listen to you. I figure I try my own kids. Talk about Jewish contribution to civilization. Understand something. God's got a problem with apples. Don't put it into the garden. What is going on over here? So I heard a beautiful idea from a very great rabbi named Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. Here's what he says. God creates a world, and here's what he does. I spoke about this earlier a little bit ago. God creates a world, and he does something amazing. It's revolutionary. It's so big that most of us never even take a minute to think about it because it's too big for us to think about. He creates a world, and the first thing that he creates are angels, and that's not fun. They all kiss up. Then he creates animals. That's not fun. No one pays attention. And what he does is something completely revolutionary. He takes an animal, and he raises it on its 2 feet. And he takes a piece of himself. God is all everything, all divine, all knowledge, all purpose, all power, all love. The spiritual world is the world that empowers us. He is all of that. And he takes a piece of himself, the divine, and he puts it inside you. And inside Adam is God. And I said this earlier, we somehow, throughout our Jewish education, started to put God there. I don't know how we ended up becoming big. He's like over the plains. And we pray up to God. We throw him stuff that we think he needs, so he gives us what we need, right? It's like the deal we make. Here's the deal. I don't know what I'm saying, so I'm going to recite what you need me to say. I'm going to throw it up to you, and do me a favor. Can you hook me up and drop it in here? Health, happiness, and extra money wouldn't kill you either, by the way. You got enough money up there, right? Come on, bring it. Let it rain. Let it pour. You know how it is? And if I throw things up and he's not delivering, I'm like, I don't see something. Like, what's going on? Like, I did this. Maybe you're not even there. I don't see something. I am asking. I'm doing your stuff. Now do my stuff. Somehow God became outside us. It's not true. You have so much divinity in you, more than we can ever access. We walk around like nuclear power plants within us. He laughs and cries. The inspiration we feel is a spark of him. Our connection to the rest of him only comes from ourselves. God creates the world, and he tells Adam, here's the deal. You're responsible for this world. This is your world. It's yours. Take care of it. Build it. Worry about it. When you see a problem, go out and fix it. Get on your hands and knees and plant. You are the manager. You are the CEO of this world. I'm not putting you in a crib, he says, because I can't do that, because if you're in a crib, it's not your world. You got to be like me, and I'm going to put evil in your world. Because if every time something bad happens, I pull it away, then you're not in control. Then it's still me. You're still being pampered like a young child. You're not a child. You're the head of a household. You're the CEO of a company. That's who you are. You're going to have evil. And it's your job to make only good. But guess what? You're going to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, and that's fine. I'm actually building an entire system where you're going to say more I'm sorry than you have anything to do with it. In fact, every woman in all whole Judaism is going to feel closer to guilt than anything in the world. Don't worry. You'll say sorry. And I'll forgive. But there's one thing that I can't forgive. There's one attribute that if you have, it's not because you're getting, I'm not mad at you. It's that you don't realize who you are. Is that when you fail, your reaction is not my fault. Not my bad. It's not me. It's not me, it's my wife, it's my husband, it's my parents. You don't know what kind of background I had. It's my education. I came from religious home, I came from a non-religious home. You know what I grew up with? You know what's going on around my house? My parents are so rich, my parents are so poor, my parents are broken, my parents are too loving to each other. My husband doesn't hear me, my wife doesn't hear me, my kids are driving me insane. It's the economy, it's Congress, it's the president. It's not me, it's not me. No, Charlie, this sounds really great. You're here from New York, it's wonderful. You don't really know what's going on in my life. It's really not me. No, in this case, it's really not me, it's not me. It's totally not me, it's him, it's her, it's them, it's the whole thing. I saw something, I felt something, I was something, I'm old, I'm young, I'm too this, I'm too that. It's not me, it's just not me. And God looks at Adam and says, I'll take that, thank you. God looks at Adam and says, I am not kicking you out because I'm mad. As soon as you say it's not me, you take away who you are. You ever get on the phone with someone like in Verizon, you're like, can you help me with something? She's like, I'm so sorry for your problem, sir. I'm like, yeah, I got that. I appreciate this infinity. Can you help me? She's like, it's terrible what happened. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate this. This is great. And if you're my psychologist, that'd be awesome that you really empathize with me. Can I speak to someone like deal with this? She's like, and maybe you can have, maybe we, and I'm sorry, sir. I'm like, yeah, manager, get me to someone that can make a call. Every time we shirk responsibility, God goes, ooh, you're the manager. There's no one else in charge of you. There's no one else that influences you. There's no one else in your life that's responsible for you. And every time we shirk, we lose the ability to be us. Adam and Eve get kicked out not because they failed. They got kicked out because when they failed, they didn't know who they were. Someone else. I'm not on the top of the pole. Someone else is in charge of me, and God goes, listen, if that's how you feel, it's the wrong job for you. I put you in this garden to be the heads of it. And apparently there's, I guess, a snake who's the head. Maybe I can talk to him. Maybe he can get me a new phone, because my iPhone broke. The greatest challenge we have in life is that some of the greatest moments that we're going on in our lives right now, some of the greatest challenges, where greatness lies for us, is not in becoming somebody else. It's not picking up a Wall Street Journal or Forbes or a Home This. It's not picking up or seeing anybody and saying, why can't we be like her or them or him? Why can't you be more like so-and-so? I can't believe I need to be like. The challenge that we have, the ambiguity that we live with, is that we're so focused on stuff and people that we forget that the greatest that is our lives is that there are things that we've never taken responsibility for. It's too hard to make the phone call to that person that we know one call would change our relationship with. It's too hard to say, I'm sorry, we know we're right, but that person is too stubborn to ever let the relationship go again. But we're right. But the family can't sit together at a Passover Seder, but I'm right. But the family is broken, but I'm right. But I'm right. It's too hard to say, I know I'm right, but I'll suck it up for the family. It's too hard to look at our spouse and go, we're going to make this, we're not going to have an okay marriage. We've got one life. This is going to be the best marriage ever. And I don't care what I need, I'll sleep less, I'll fight, whatever it's going to take. I work for somebody. Whatever it's going to take for me to give the best value for my customers and my boss, it's my responsibility. It's not whether they see how great I am, or whether my spouse realizes how lucky he or she is, or whether my kids realize that, like, I don't understand why you don't listen anymore. Like, you're 17 years old, like, you should, at 17, listen to everything that I'm saying. I'm thinking, like, no, you're the last person I listen to. I'm 17. I don't ever realize that you're important until, like, I have my own kids, and then I'm like, oh, wow, my parents are amazing. You ever had that feeling, by the way? Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? You get your first kid, you're like, oh my God. You have that feeling? You take the baby home from the hospital, and you're like, seriously? And the nurse is like, you had it, you raised it. You're like, oh my God, oh my God, I never really, no, I can't really raise anything. I'm just learning how to shower a few years ago. I got the toaster thing down and I can make noodles. The whole life in my house thing isn't gonna work. She's like, good luck. Remember that? And then like 2 weeks of like no sleep. And you know the best part of being a parent is the first time you bring your kids home, your only goal is that they don't die. You know what I'm talking about? It's so simple. We have a kid, just don't kill it in 2 weeks, you know? That's it. It's not like college and being great. Then they get older, it becomes more complicated. When you have them, like, listen, let's just keep it alive until it's like Thanksgiving, and they don't realize that they're gonna lock us up, right? And then you're like, my parents did what? And you're like, Ma, yeah, all that stuff, yeah, ages 8 to 20, I'm really sorry. All of it, yeah. You know what, just pull it up to 30 at that point, yeah. You know what, just give me a full pass, my bad. Because that's how it works. And the essence of what's greatness is right in front of us. The life that we want, the feeling of ambiguity, is that feeling that I should take more responsibility. This is really my bad. I know this isn't easy, but... And unless we do it, there's no matter how much they give us and how much they tell us and all the honors and money and titles and all that stuff is wonderful, but no matter how much they heap on us, at our core, that feeling, you could be more. Take responsibility for your life. Like I said earlier, I'm in Texas. So when you're in Texas, there are things you have to do. The most important thing of that is talk about football. That's how I don't know, I landed, I'm like, football. I don't know, that's just me, football. I'll tell you a story that really gave me perspective as to why. Why is responsibility so important for you? Why? Isn't it easier just to say, it's not my bad? Like, isn't it easier just to deal with this? That's why we do it in the first place, right? Why is this so critical in our growth? So I'll tell you a story. So I worked for a company, my previous company called RXR. It's a real estate company in New York. I don't know how this happened. God sort of arranged it. So I do these short videos on Aish. Some of you may have seen them. A couple of guys in the office saw them, and they asked me if I could do a monthly sort of like open question thing. I said, sure. So every month I would sit down, and everyone from the company wanted to hear about whatever I know about Judaism, whatever. They'd all sit around, open forums. It was a lot of fun. So one time we had a new associate, just a few years ago, and this new guy, a young guy named Josh. He's in the finance department, big guy, 6'3", 6'4", cut like an ox. He sits in the front row, and I'm talking about whatever, and he's listening, and then it's over. He comes up and he goes, Charlie, thank you so much for doing this. It's my pleasure, Josh. He goes, listen, he's uncomfortable. Like, I was just wondering if, like, maybe I can come back. I said, of course. He goes, no, I didn't say this beforehand, but I'm not Jewish. I'm like, I know. He goes, how do you know? I'm like, Josh, he's 6'4". You know what I'm saying? Like, he's 6'4", 250. God doesn't make us like that. You know what I'm saying? We're never on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like, we represent the guys on the field, working on the sponsorship deals in the back end. We figured out a way to make money on the soda. There's no question we figured out. We may have built the stadium, but we're never in the ring, ever. So he says, all right. I said, great, welcome to come back. Great. So next week he comes back, and I say, okay, the story is, what has someone done something for you that you've held on to your whole life? That was the topic. It was an open question. He goes, do you mind if I answer? I said, Josh, you're 6'4". You know what I'm saying? Like, you do whatever you'd like. You want to give the class, that's fine too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we roll. So he says, I'll tell you my story. He goes, I grew up, and my town that I grew up in, it was a football town. And he goes, I was born like this. I was like when I was 4, I was 6'4". I was that kid that grew like this. And when I got to high school, my coaches were like drooling over me, like this is it. The Messiah just walked through the door, we're gonna win the championship. He goes, but I was a terrible football player, terrible. And it was because I was a wimp. And you can't be a wimp in football, and I just was. And my coach just didn't know how to motivate me. And then someone showed him a clip of some movie. I haven't seen it, but apparently it's a movie out there. This happened just a few years ago. Or it was a story that the movie was based on. But someone told him this story. And he figured he would try it out on me. So I go to practice one day. I don't know what's going on. And he goes, Josh. He goes, yeah. So he goes, come here. He goes, sure. He goes, you ever do a death crawl? A death crawl is when you get on your hands, your feet and your hands, but your knees and your elbows can't touch the ground. I think they're called bear crawls also. He goes, yeah, I did that, sure, coach. He goes, you think you can go to the 20? So he goes, yeah, I can go to the 20. He goes, for sure? He goes, yeah, for sure. I get to the 20 at that, for sure. He goes, okay, promise me? He goes, yeah. He goes, you get on your life. He goes, He goes, come on. He goes, coach, I'll get to the 20. He goes, awesome. He goes, look, get ready. So he bends down, he goes, Billy. Billy was like the shortest kid on the team, probably like the Jewish kid, you know what I'm saying? He's like, Billy, come here. He's like, yeah, coach. He goes, what'd you get on Josh's back? He's like, no, I didn't. And he goes, you promised me the 20. He goes, no, but I didn't. He goes, you promised me the 20. He goes, okay, I can do it. He goes, great. And he takes out of his pocket a handkerchief. He ties the handkerchief on, he blindfolds him. He goes, anything else, coach? He goes, I'm good. So he goes, you ready? He goes, yep. And he gets down on all fours. And he goes, go. And Josh is going. He tells me he's going, and he's going, and he's going. He's at the 10. And his coach goes, great, Josh, you're at the 5, man. You're doing great. You're at the 5. You're at the 5. He goes, the And he's going into the 20, and his coach is going, great, Josh, you're at the 10. At 10, he goes, oh, how is it possible? You ever get this feeling, by the way, when you work out, time slows down? You know what I'm talking about? You ever feel like you're on the treadmill, you know what I'm saying? You're jogging, you're like, that's 45 minutes. You're like, 18 seconds? Like, you know? It's like time slows down in space and on treadmills, you know? Right? He's like, I don't understand something. Like, I'm going, and I can't. And he's going to the 30, and his coach's like, great, Josh, at the 50. And he goes, coach, I got another left. He goes, you promised me to the 20. He goes, but I can't get there. And he's going to the 40. He goes, give me 5 more, Josh, give me 5 more. He goes, coach, I got nothing left. He goes, negotiate with your body for more. He goes, you give me 5 more. And he goes, I can't. And he's screaming, and the coach is screaming back at him. And he's going, and he goes, 3, 2, and his neck collapsed. And I looked up, and I'll never forget, he says, and I untied my handkerchief. I looked up, and I said, coach, it's no use, man. I didn't even make it to the 20. And the coach said, turn around, Josh. You're on the 50. Why is responsibility so important? Why? It's so much easier to blame. It's so much easier to say, he doesn't get me. It's so much easier to say, this is just too difficult to deal with. Why is it so important for him? Because here's how it works. When God endows us with a soul, what he's saying is, the power that you have inside you is so much more than you'll ever know. Inside you is a piece of me. Inside you is a piece of me. God isn't up there like, if we're good, then he'll say hi. God is within us, which means that in our soul is strength and power and knowledge that is more than we could ever dream of. How do we ever access it? What do we have to do to access it? And the only way we do that is that what taking responsibility does isn't like it's the right thing because it's ethically. What taking responsibility does is it gives us the ability to draw something within us that we never would have seen before. Inside us is the ability to go to the 50. Inside us is the ability to look at the world that we have right now and make it better. I speak sometimes to young people. There's a lot going on for young people. And the few young people that know, inside me is so much. Old, young, this and that. When we look at our lives and realize that there's something inside me, I don't know how to bring it out. I know it's in there, I feel it, but how does it come out? It comes out when we look at our lives and going, I'm going to the 50. And he got up and the coach said to him the following. He says, Josh, there's 2 types of players. Because there are some players that like to win. You know what winning is? A scoreboard. You have more points than the guy next to you, you won. If they have 0 points and you scored 1 point and played the worst game of your life, you win. Winning is comparing yourself to somebody else. He goes, but you know what great athletes love more than winning? Playing. Jerry Rice, I remember Jerry Rice, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. One of the greatest throws is Michael Irvin, who was a Cowboy, was in the Pro Bowl when the Cowboys played the Niners. The day after the Pro Bowl, he came late to practice. He goes, where were you? He goes, I'm training. He goes, for what? The Super Bowl was yesterday. He goes, for next season. He goes, what are you doing? Like, yeah, we get to play again. Great athletes, they want to play. And they know that the better the defense, the more something's coming at me. And they know that I don't care what the scoreboard says. I care what I leave on the field when I'm done. And if I win, but I play terrible, that's not a win. Not to an athlete. And a lot of it is what we have. Right? When you're a little kid, you'll never find any Christmas season where the toy manufacturer's like, okay, kids, this season, like, the parents are having a rough time, economy's rough. Toys are fine, by the way, it's good. Merry Christmas from almost a Mattel, ever. You're never gonna find, like, you know, the fashion industry going, ladies, your styles look just fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're making it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, big glasses, small glasses, big glasses, small glasses. We don't even know, we're just doing it. We know you're gonna buy it. You look just as good as last semester. Happy holidays, Walmart's in Venice. It's totally fine, ever. And we're little. It's have, get, have, get, get. Win. What we lose is that feeling of playing. When we look at our lives and say, I'm taking responsibility for everything. I'm not taking responsibility for your actions. That's your business. I'm taking responsibility for how I react to your actions. We push to the 50. You may not make it, but man, do we pass the 20. Because we think the way it works in life is that ability leads to responsibility. If you have, then you give. If you have money, then you donate. If you have wisdom, then you share it. If you have charisma, then you lead. We think the way the world works is having leads to giving. Ability leads to responsibility, but it's actually the reverse. The way it really works is that responsibility leads to ability. The people that do the best, the people that are growers, they say, it's on my shoulders. Someone gave me a great quote. He said, great people are just regular people with great shoulders. They just take it on. And what's sitting inside us is that one idea. Let me end with the following story. And some of the guys that steal fears in the house, you heard this last year. God bless you. So at this company that I was in, I was in charge before I left of the summer intern program. And summer intern program back in those days when the market was terrible, it was like through the roof. So I get all these resumes. Now I had gone through my first midlife crisis when I was 29. I didn't know what 30 looked like. I didn't know what happened on the other side. I just thought that whenever you're 30, whatever you look like, it's sort of cemented into place. Like I thought that all the bellies that like my dad and his friends had, they were just like looking around and they were 30 and then just cemented. I didn't know what you did. I didn't know. Now, thank God I know that's not like that. But when I was 29, I'm like, I don't know what happens at 30. Like, do you go, you know, the dentures, like Florida, like what goes on? So I was freaking out. I was 29, a bunch of years ago. Thank God it's not like that. And I went crazy. I actually was a few sizes bigger than I am. I went to the gym. I worked out like crazy. And when you first go to the gym, anyone who's gone through this experience, when you first go into the exercise field, like you just walk in the gym and you're like losing weight. You know what I'm talking about? You leave one end and you're just feeling great and everything. And then you hit a wall. And I hit that wall. And when someone's like, why don't you get a personal trainer? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Like, you know, I'm a guy. Well, I'm not going to ask for any help. And I just kept on going and going and going. 6 days a week, working hard. No real results. So I'm at the job. And I'm going through the resumes one night, late at night, and every single resume is the same. And law school, law firm, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I see one of the resumes. It says in the bottom, personal hobbies, personal trainer. I'm looking going, what have we here? I'm gonna get my trainer without having to get my trainer. This is a Jew's dream. So I call in my buddy, my new buddy. I'm like, hi. And he's like, good, this. So then he's like, right away, he's like, well, I went to this clinic and I did this. I'm like, yeah. Okay. Tell me about your training experience. So he says to me, well, I was part of a team that trained, you know, the Olympic athletes and personal, you know, in weightlifting. I'm like, hired. He's like, for the law job? I'm like, yeah, for the law job. So a few weeks later, he shows up. This is great. He shows up a few weeks later. And he, as he walks in, I couldn't get any weirder about it. Like I couldn't have been more awkward. He comes in, I give him like, you know, like a deal that we're working on. As he leaves my office, I literally follow him into his office. He sits down, and he looks up at me. I'm like, hi. He's like, hi. I'm like, you enjoying yourself? He's like, in 6 seconds before, yeah, he goes, I'm like, you know, I'm like over here, like something crazy just hit me. Like, I don't even know this is, I'm just gonna say this, but like, maybe it's just, I don't know if it's crazy, but like, what are you doing every single day at 12 o'clock? So he's like, you need me somewhere for like a deal? I'm like, yeah, sort of a deal. It's a property, it's an asset. You have to work it, it's a workout. So he's like, you got it, my pleasure. So he goes down and says, never forget, first day I'm in the gym, in the company gym. And I'm proud of myself. I do every machine in the room, everything. And what I used to do when I worked out was, and for the guys, for everyone that works out, you're gonna almost chuckle, I used to just sit down at what everyone else is doing and just do more than they do. You know what I'm saying? Like if they did 10, I just did 12. He shows up, and he goes, "Son, what'd you do? Son, what you got?" So I sit around and do the whole thing. And he's like literally holding back laughter. And I'm like, "What's so funny, Mr. Ex-intern? I didn't know that I was a clown, in addition to your boss." So I said, "Can you help me?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "You're not even working out." I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm here 6 days a week." He goes, "Yeah, you're doing like aerobics for your arms." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Of course you're not building muscle." I'm like, "Well, how do you build muscle?" He says, "I'll tell you how you build muscle. In your muscles, there are microfibers. And the goal of a workout is to push enough weight until your microfibers rip. If you do a workout and those little fibers don't rip, they don't grow back. And if they do, with protein and rest, they grow back stronger. And then you push them so they rip and then stronger, and they rip and then stronger." He goes, "The rule of thumb we use for training the athletes is that when you're doing a set, the last 3 have to kill. If you can't get those last 3 up, you're missing it. If you get them up too easy, nice, better than a hamburger, but it's not building your muscle." The challenge that we have in life is that we assume that there's some end. We think that there's some win. We think there's something that we're accomplishing. Because all of us at every moment of our lives make two choices. Different types of greatness. We choose vertical or horizontal greatness. Horizontal greatness is I look around to my peer group and see how everyone else is doing. And I judge my success based on my group. And if I have more money than everybody in my group, then I am rich. And if I don't, then I am poor. And if I'm smarter, then I am smart. If I'm more religious, then I'm more. Every area of my life, I look around to the people in front of me and before and after me. I sit at their weight, and I just do more than them, and I assume that I'm doing better, because I'm better than the next guy, the next group, my circle of friends. Right, I remember when I was in RXR once, a guy came to me in a downturn and said, Charlie, I got to talk to you for a second. I said, sure. He goes, you're an Orthodox guy. Like, you're like almost like a priest? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, confess away, whatever. Hail Mary it upside down. I don't really know. Yeah, but I mean, so he goes, I'm having a tough week. What's the matter, honey? He says, I had to give in my yacht this week. I'm like, your yacht? I'm like, booby. He says, finally someone that gets me. I'm like, no, I don't get you. Are you crazy? The people have jobs. You don't give me away your yacht. Because I'm the only one in the country club without a yacht. I'm such a failure. We all do this, by the way. We look at our peer group and go, how am I doing? This is called horizontal greatness. Here's the challenge. We never, ever get there. We never reach it. We're never great. Because it's not greatness. But there's another option. It's called vertical greatness. That's when we look at ourselves in the mirror and go, I am judging my greatness by, did the last 3 kill? When I went to bed tonight, did I do anything in my day that ripped? Did I do anything today that was hard? I've got so much. My life, if I don't have challenges, I'm not working hard enough. When we live our lives and we're on Easy Street, then we're not playing hard enough. In the challenges of my life, did they rip? And if I go to bed at night and I can't say that from when I woke up this morning, the last 3 killed, I did something today that I thought I was going to die when I did it. When you call someone and like you're on fire. I was worried. I was vulnerable today. I was scared today. I picked up the phone and called someone I never thought I could do. I said something to my wife. I can't believe she's my wife. I would never say this stuff, but I said it to her and she took it a little okay, but I killed her. I said it. I looked my kids in the eyes and I said, listen, you're not becoming the person that I want you to be, but guess what? I love you anyways. And the truth is, when I was your age, I wasn't that kid either. Ask your grandma. Hard. And when we judge our success and our greatness by not the wins, but on our effort, on did it kill, did I rip today? Did I go to bed another day and I was too scared for it to rip? I'm too fragile. I'm like a glass manat. I feel like if I nick myself, I'm going to collapse. Did I not push my muscles knowing that inside me is a soul that is so much more than I could ever tap into? And the only way I get it is when I look at a 20 and go, I'm going to the 50. The only way I get it is when I look at my life and go, it's on me. I got it. I'm not blaming you anymore. I got it. I'll do whatever I can on me. It may not be a perfect world, but I'm going to change how I see the world. And when we look at our lives, and we judge our greatness by if it killed, we feel like we're truly great. Whether they tell us or not, whether we win or lose, whether we have 100 letters after our name, or just the end of our last name. In our gut, we feel my life is great. Because that's greatness. Greatness is it stays on the field. Greatness is when I go to bed at night, I didn't hold back. I remember one time, and then this will end. When 9/11 hit, there was a family that we were close with who worked for a company called Cantor Fitzgerald. The guy was a banker in Cantor. Cantor Fitzgerald had the top floors in the second tower. I'll never forget this story. It was Simchas Torah, and at that point they realized. Remember, it hit right before Rosh Hashanah. Simchas Torah was really like it was over. And a woman got up to speak. It was his wife. Horrible. And she described what the last few minutes were to her husband. And when the second plane hit, it hit underneath their floors. So there was no way out. Remember the stories? Remember the pictures of the guy jumping out? That's what it was. It was those floors, because they weren't going down. And she said that he had like 4 minutes. And as soon as he realized he was going to die, he sat at his desk and he called his wife. And then he called his mom. And then he called his dad. Because he realized, like, I don't have to be scared of it anymore. I'm not going to be around in a few minutes. If I got people in my life, I'm not waiting another second to tell them how I feel. And she said something that I'll never forget. She said, why do we wait until the towers hit to call the people in our lives and say the things that we would say? What? Why do we wait? Why don't we just pick up the phone now? Why are we so brave when something bad? Why do we kiss our kids when you hear a story of someone that? Why do we do this for? Why don't we just do it now, and then we get to do it and then enjoy it? It's because we don't kill. It's because it's not my bad. Let them call me. It's because we're not clear of who we are and what we're fighting for. We are souls that have more power than we can dream of. And we're fighting to remember that. And when we walk around and live our lives with that knowledge, there's something inside me that I'm going to bring out. And the life that I have is enough to bring it out. Greatness I have in front of me. I don't get to be somebody else. I just need to realize what's in front of me. And when we take responsibility, we find ability. And we judge our success by the last 3 killed, not if they say that we're great. We change our perspective as to what greatness is. Every day, win or lose, we go to bed, and we've been there, because we've all been there, and we feel like today was a great day. And my blessing to us is that we live our lives greatly, truly greatly. Win or lose, rain or shine, up or down, may we all walk through our lives and push to the 50 and find that power that's within so that we can light up ourselves, our families, and the entire world. Thank you so much.